and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to talk about the deadlift, as you probably ascertained from the title. Although saying that, I haven't actually decided on a concrete video title yet. It'll probably just be something like clickbaity, crazy epic goat flamethrower battle, or like old man marries robot melon boy. Yeah, whatever it is, obviously it was sufficient to get you to watch the video, so unlucky. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about deadlift. I'm going to particularly, I want to address a pretty huge misconception regarding the deadlift, which is kind of dominating like fitness, kind of just the way that everyone thinks. I think a lot of it is completely wrong, so I'm going to try and kind of disprove that. I'm sitting outside the gym now. I'm about to go in and deadlift suitably. I've got a squat and bench press first, so I'll show you that briefly. Then I'll show you the deadlift clips, and then I'll go home and we'll have a nice, open, frank discussion. Training, let's talk. So first things first, the session I just did, it was pretty good. It was okay, like it was nothing spectacular. I just worked up to a conservative single for a squat, for a bench press and for a deadlift, and they were very much conservative. Like I did play it really safe today, only because I've only just got back from Morocco. I had like 4 days off training, which ordinarily wouldn't be very much at all, but because my frequency is so high, it felt like an eternity. It felt like I was, like really rusty the last couple of days. So I did, like I said, play it really safe today. But yeah, those numbers weren't too bad. Definitely have a lot more there, and as I get back into it over the next few days, next kind of week and stuff, they should start to shoot up again. Now, so today is a Monday. So I did obviously squat, bench and deadlift, and now the way I set things up, if you're unfamiliar with my setup, I'm doing a Bulgarian method, and I am squatting 6 days a week, I'm bench pressing 4 days a week, and I'm deadlifting 3 days a week. So today is the first of my 3 deadlift sessions a week. And now in my deadlift session, every time I work up to a conservative single. Sometimes if I'm feeling good, I might push it a bit further and go for a PR, which I have done over the last few weeks. And then at the moment I'm dropping it down and just doing one back off set of 3 reps, which is at a pretty light weight, like a maybe like 80 to 90%, nothing kind of really grinding. And that brings me on to my point, what I want to talk about, the big, massive misconception about deadlifts, and that is quite simply that. People say you cannot deadlift heavy more than once a week. I've heard that everywhere. Everywhere you look about training, training advice, and particularly in reference to the deadlift, everywhere you look it will say you cannot deadlift heavy more than once a week. Some people say, you know, 10 days or 2 weeks. I hear some people say they won't deadlift heavy more than once a month, which that's kind of, I just assumed that was fine. I kind of accepted it. They say things about you know, it's very CNS taxing, it's different to the other lifts, whatever, and I went along with it. Now I spent the best part of almost like a year and a half deadlifting heavy once a week. A lot of the time I was just deadlifting once a week and nothing else, because I thought that was the only way you could do it. Now, doing this Bulgarian method, obviously I'm squatting a ridiculous amount of times, and I thought, if I can squat 6 times a week, surely I can deadlift more than once. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it and see what happens. So I've dived into deadlifting 3 times a week, and the results I've had have been insane. Like, my deadlift progression has been the best it's been in pretty much since when I first started. Like, it's been crazy. So the point I want to make is that do not assume you can only deadlift heavy once a week. As far as I'm concerned, that is incorrect. I mean, I am proof that that is not the case, because I've now had 6 weeks of deadlifting 3 times a week, working up to a conservative single, which isn't always, you know, a massive grinder, but it's always fairly heavy. And like I said, my deadlift progression has been huge. Like, I've put, in the space of 6 weeks, I've put 10 kilograms, so 22 pounds on my deadlift PR, culminating with a 600-pound deadlift, which you can watch. And I've got more there. Like, bearing in mind, when I did my deadlift PR prior to this, like my last deadlift PR prior to this training cycle, that was in a competition that was fully deloaded. The 600-pound deadlift was in the middle of a training cycle, no deloading whatsoever. That was after having squatted and bench pressed, that, you know, in that session in the space of an hour and a half. So I know I've got more there. So it just goes to show, like I said, I believe you can definitely deadlift at least twice a week. Now, the reasoning for, you know, the reason why people say, and I do understand it, they say you can't do it more than once heavy, because it is I think there's 2 reasons. Firstly, it is very CNS taxing. Your nervous system is put under a lot of stress, because whereas with the squat and the bench press, you've got an eccentric movement first, with the deadlift, it's from a dead stop. You're doing it from nothing, so there's no kind of stretch reflex there, and obviously it is more taxing. But for me, that's not an excuse, because what about like a pause bench press or a pause squat, or things like rack pulls? There's nowhere that says you can't do those more, you know, heavy more than once a week, so there's no reason why the deadlift should be any different. The other thing they say is that you know, if you pull with a slightly rounded back, like upper back, or, you know, some people even have a slightly rounded lower back, obviously that's a lot of strain in your spine, and you can't do that more than once a week. I'd kind of agree with that. Like, I think the one exception to what I'm saying, if you do pull conventional and you really yank the bar and you start with a rounded, like, mid lower back, then, you know, obviously that isn't great. You shouldn't be doing that at all, full stop, but definitely wouldn't do that more than once a week. But the way I pull with a sumo, my lower back particularly is completely straight and completely neutral. And if you're doing that, as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why you can't deadlift 3 times a week, maybe even more. I honestly believe if I put another session in after a while, I still think I'll get the benefits from that. I don't see why you can't do that. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that, I mean, my results speak for themselves. I think what a lot of people do, and what I've done, I'm guilty of it myself, is that I just read all the research on it, and what everyone else was doing, assumed that was gospel. That, yeah, because everyone says it, that's the way it's got to be. But I think you need to try things out for yourself. Everyone is different. And like I said, if your deadlift technique is solid and your lumbar spine is straight when you are pulling, and you're not going crazy and yanking the bar, then by all means up your deadlift frequency. Now, if your deadlift is going up nicely, you know, if you're getting stronger, then obviously don't change it, leave it as it is. But when you get to the point where you start to plateau, I know I hear of guys that, you know, don't do a deadlift PB for like 6 months or a year. If that's you, then deadlift more. Just try it, you know, like up your frequency to maybe 2 heavy sessions a week, or like I said, even 3, and I am fairly confident that you're going to get results. The beauty of it as well is that your volume doesn't have to be so high. Like, you know, if you're trying to get a certain amount of deadlift volume into your week, and then you start to plateau, then you obviously need to increase that volume. If you're only deadlifting once a week, you're struggling for places to put that. You know, it's going to be a massive long session, and the quality of it is going to be poor. Whereas if you're spreading that volume over 2 or 3 sessions a week, the volume in each session is going to be a lot lower. The quality is going to be a lot higher, and that is going to lead to, you know, to a lot better deadlift progression, which I think I've demonstrated myself. And at the end of the day, you know, if you can argue it as much as you want, but everyone accepts that, you know, to gain strength, what causes strength gain is progressive overload, is obviously volume increase over time. Now, that, you know, the deadlift is no different. It's not some kind of bizarre, like, you know, crazy different lift. It's just a lift. It's something you're doing, you know, something you're stressing, you're putting your body under, and therefore it adapts in the same way through progressive overload, through volume. And therefore, if you increase the frequency to 2 or 3 times a week, you can increase your volume, you have progressive overload there, and your deadlift is going to go up. That is a fact. You know, you cannot dispute that. So, in summary, what I want to say is that you can deadlift more than once a week. There is no way you should be confined to deadlifting heavy once a week and no more than that. Don't assume that is the way. If you're doing that and it's working, stick with it. But if you are plateauing, then don't just keep adding crazy volume to that one session. Try 2 or 3 times a week and see how you get on. With that said, if you do that and your spine explodes, then just send me a private message and I'll delete this video and probably fake my own death just to cover my back. And that is that. So yeah, give it a go. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. If you disagree with me, then by all means, let me know in the comment section. I'll say you're an idiot, but you know, feel free to do that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.